We are live now, and yeah, let's start. The subject today will be five steps for a successful EB-2 NIW application. Hi, Johannes. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, I'm doing really well. How about you, Luis?
I'm doing well also. Yeah, I'm excited to share this content with our audience. Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's start with the first step, right? And let's move for the next ones after. The first step is determine your eligibility, right? That's when we have the call, the first time with our candidate for the ABTNAW. We normally ask him to share his resume with us or curriculum to see if this specific point of determine your eligibility it's attained, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's front and center. It's something that we check in the very beginning, obviously, to make sure someone qualifies for this type of immigration benefit before we discuss everything else that we're going to talk about later on. So, the basic eligibility criteria for DB2 category, and obviously, the NIW is a special type of petition belonging to the EB2, let's call it employment-based immigration benefit family, is you need to have either an advanced degree, so an advanced degree from the US, or for an equivalent, that would be a master degree, or a bachelor either from the US or foreign, and 5 years of experience in the field, right? So these two, the wide majority of applicants file under one of these two. I would say 70 to 80% actually have a master degree. But it is very important to know that just because you don't meet these two requirements, it doesn't mean you're excluded. You could still be eligible under the exceptional ability clause. So, if you have exceptional ability in a number of fields like science, arts, business, you could still be qualifying. Obviously, this has to be well documented. So we're talking about um, additional proof that we would have to submit in the form of awards, of publications, et cetera, et cetera, right? But this is the basic eligibility for an EB2 category.
Yeah, and you are talking here about advanced degree or exceptional ability. Could you explain a little bit about the exceptional ability part?
Yes, as I just mentioned, so even people who not necessarily hold a advanced degree, meaning a master degree or a bachelor degree with 5 continuous years of experience, may still be eligible under the EB2 category if they possess exceptional ability in a number of fields, such as science, such as arts, et cetera, et cetera. And this would then have to be well documented, right? So, um,
Nice. And second part here is demonstrate that your work has substantial merit and national importance to the US. That's a very important part because some people has the exceptional ability and show there's a high education like a master degree or a PhD, but it's very important to match this specific point here. Okay, demonstrate that your work has substantial merit and national importance to the US.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is now we're getting at the core of any NIW petition, right? So just for our viewers to understand, um, the NIW stands for National Interest Waiver, right? So we're talking about a petition that allows you to circumvent a job offer, which is a typical requirement for any employment-based green card. So what we're doing with a national interest waiver is we're submitting evidence that proves that your endeavor meaning is a fancy word for project, is in the national interest of the United States, and therefore you deserve to have your job offer waived, right? That's what the W stands for, right? So a number of things must be true. So we touched upon substantial merit, right? So there's a number of endeavors that do have substantial merit. Um, One of the most prominent ones is a research endeavor. So any type of academic work that comes in the form of publications, citations, et cetera, et cetera. Those endeavors are always very well received with UCS, right? So that's one way of proving substantial merit, obviously, but it's not the only way, right? So if you are sitting behind the screen and thinking, oh my God, I don't have a PhD, that doesn't mean you don't qualify, right? There could be many other endeavors that do meet the substantial merit requirement. For instance, one that we work with pretty often is the entrepreneurship endeavor, right? So for entrepreneurs who like to set up a business that has brought impacts on the community and beyond, those typically um, do qualify as well, right? And obviously, we get to the national importance argument. This essentially means that your endeavor needs to have an impact that goes beyond the people that you work with directly, right? So it needs to have an impact that is tangible in within the community. Sometimes local endeavors could also qualify for national interest, but ideally something that really has an impact on a wider scale, nationwide, is what we're looking for. And we've worked with really a lot of candidates um, to prove national importance, right? So, for instance, this could be if you are a cybersecurity professional. This is one of the fields that is really prone to proving national importance, right? It's something where we can easily prove how the threats coming from cybersecurity is a major issue in the US, especially for small businesses. It's costing the US economy billions and billions of dollars every year. So it's really easy for us to say, hey, this professional is gonna help fill that gap, and it's going to save the US economy so much money, and it's going to benefit businesses nationwide, right? So that's just one of the instances that we've worked with recently.
Nice. And then the second step here, third step would be proof that waiving the job offer in labor certification benefits US. That's a very
Right.
important point also, right? And we just
Absolutely.
that, yeah, yeah. Okay, let's go for the next
Yeah,
one.
let me just add a few remarks on that. So
Okay,
essentially, whenever we submit a petition, the officer always has this requirement in the back of their mind, right? So they're looking at substantial merit, they're looking at national importance, but it's really important to remember that the NIW is not meant to be a replacement for finding a job, right? It's something that has to create additional value, ideally, right? So we're looking for the type of endeavor that ideally, positively impacts the economy, creates US based jobs. That's the type of petition that will be successful and will be well received by USCIS.
awesome. Yeah. And then we go to the part of gather supporting evidence. Okay, we have to prove, right? We have to make sure we are proving our candidate has the strong evidence for our case, right? And that's a very important part also. And we go for the academic degree certificates and proof of exceptional ability, which is a very important part of the application also.
Absolutely. I think it's probably one of those requirements that are relatively easy to grasp for our viewers, right? We're essentially looking for degrees. If the degrees are not from a U.S. institution, then they will need to be certified and might be translated if they're not in English. But other than that, there's really not much to say about that.
Now it's letters of recommendation from experts in your field. That's a very important point of the application also. And so many applicants has doubt about that, right? How many letters they're gonna bring to the case, who is gonna sign these letters. Could you explain a little bit more about that?
Yes, so indeed, that's one of the most frequently asked questions during our consultations, I believe, right? So, you know, many candidates come to us and they ask me, Johannes, how many letters do I need? And that's in my view not the right question, right? The right question should be, who are the people best qualified to issue a letter of recommendation for me, right? So when we are filing an NIW, we're not looking for quantity, right? Quantity is not always beneficial. We are looking for quality above quantity, right? So what we've seen being successful is 5 or 6 letters of recommendation issued from the right people and having the right content, right? So helping us to prove everything that we've discussed previously, right? So they need to be strategically written, right? Many times our clients come to me and say, hey, I have this letter from recommendation from Mr. XYZ. We usually never file letters that are pre-existing. Why? Because they are not strategically drafted, right? We as professionals draft the letters for our clients in order for them to be exactly on point and assisting us to prove what we need to be um, proven in our petition, right? So 5 to 6 letters, a good mix, I would say. 3 letters from colleagues or people you've worked with directly. Three letters from people who are recognized in your field as being experts, and that, if it's done properly, is enough um, to prove what we're trying to do.
Okay, and we're going for evidence of impact, publications, award, media recognition, projects, etc. That's a very important part too, because that's the way we have to prove to the USCIS you have a background to support your petition, right? And publications, the awards, the media recognition, the project to be the base to prove that.
Yes, absolutely. So our clients um, are definitely outstanding professionals, right? We're talking about people who really are on the top of their field, but sometimes just being on the top of your field is not enough, right? You should not be an invisible back office professional yearly, right? You should be someone who has gained enough visibility to support your petition, right? This is where this requirement comes in. Obviously, the EB-1 is much stricter on this type of requirements. The EB-2 does not necessarily require um, all of these recognitions, but obviously, if we can add evidence supporting the fact that not only you meet all of the EB-2 requirement, but in addition to that, you also meet some of the EB-1 category requirements. This will really boost your petition, right? So definitely all of this is great to have, and it's a must if you're going under the exceptional ability exception, right? So definitely very important.
Yeah, and this step here, proof of how your work benefits the US on a national scale. That's a very important step also, because we need to make sure his project or their project are looking to give to us a national benefit, right? And in a national scale, which is very important also. Not every project can do that. We need to be very careful to analyze if the project which the candidate has this potential, right?
Absolutely, it's something that we touched upon earlier as well, but you know, this is the pillar of any NIW petition, right? National interest waivers. So we're looking for an impact that goes beyond the people that you work directly with, and that can really, significantly impact the field where you're working at, right? So, for instance, something that we've seen um, being very successful is a consulting type of business. So, right, let's say you are an entrepreneur and your idea is to set up a consulting type of business. This consulting business, by definition, will offer services to businesses usually around the country, not necessarily depending on your area, but ideally around the country. And by doing so, your work will have an impact that goes beyond the people you work with directly, right? And this is how you can prove a benefit on a national scale fairly easily, right? So obviously, this needs to be adjusted to your specific endeavor, right? And it needs to make sense. But for instance, you could say, even if you work in a field that you don't believe necessarily being of national importance, it can acquire that characteristic by providing those services on a nationwide scale. So let's say you are a accountant or a tax consultant that works with foreign businesses investing in the US. You can see right away how there will be a tangible benefit to the US economy, right? So by bringing foreign direct investment in, by creating new businesses, new jobs for US workers, you have just proven that your work benefits on a national scale. Even if you thought, oh my God, I'm only an accountant. No, you are an accountant that is making a major impact, and that's why you deserve the NIW benefit.
Great. And now we're gonna get to preparing for your case. Now it's hands-on, right? We need to start to complete the form I-140. It's a step to the application, right? And after that, we're gonna submit all required supporting documentation, and then that's a very important step, and pay the necessary filing fees to submit the USS. Now the package is ready to go, right?
Absolutely. So the package being significant usually, right? We're talking about something that will have this size.
Mhm.
And yes, absolutely, as you mentioned, filing fees extremely important. Um, we've seen it unfortunately with candidates who try to file themselves, not um, including the proper filing fees, and therefore getting a rejection. That's why you want to get it right at the first time, right? Also because a case that has been rejected has not been received, and therefore if you're relying on that, you just wasted 2 3 months, and it's just not a good experience. And obviously we're going to include everything in your package, starting with the form I-140, and collect all the evidence, print it out, and then send it to USCIS in Texas.
Yep. And then we're gonna wait for USS decision if uh, any RFE is issued to the process two. We're gonna have to respond that, right? Which is a request for more evidence. Sometimes that happens. It's not end of your case. It's a chance to explain something better or bring more proof or bring more evidence for your case, right?
Yeah, so obviously, in an ideal world, you would like to avoid receiving an RFE. But as you just mentioned, the RFE in a way can be an opportunity to clarify whatever the officer is requesting you to. And
Mhm.
if handled properly, and timely, obviously, right, because you're going to have a tight deadline to respond to the RFE, um, you could still easily get a positive adjudication in your case, right? So the most important thing when receiving an RFE is to keep calm, talk to an attorney ideally, and draft a compelling response to all the points raised by the officer, and then timely submit it, and your case will be approved. Currently, the average waiting time for a decision is about 8 to 9 months if you file with ordinary processing.
Okay. And then we're gonna go for additional proof is necessary and address to RFE quickly and through the strength of your case. That's the important part we mentioned also. And then we're gonna apply for a green card, adjustment of status or consular processing, right? Now is the time for start the green card application. And if you are in
Yeah,
the US, file the I-485, right? Adjustment of status when a visa number is available, right?
absolutely. So the NIW can be a good option for both professionals based in the US, but also those overseas, right? So the process initially is exactly the same. You file the I-140. Once the I-140 approved, you have your priority date, and then you need to wait for your priority date to become current, right? So that's where the visa bulletin comes in. I'm sure many of you have heard it before. It's issued on a monthly basis, and For instance, for an EB-2 NIW, which belongs to the EB-2 category, you would have to check employment-based, second preference, and you see that currently the backlog is about 2 years, 2.5 years. However, if you are from a number of countries that have a higher rate of immigrants to the US, you would have to wait longer. In the case of Indian nationals, unfortunately, the backlog is currently very long. We're talking about 12 years, right? So you would have to wait until your priority date becomes current. Once that's the case, you can file either for adjustment of status if you're in the US or for consular processing if you're outside the US.
Okay, and if you are outside of US through a consular processing, attend to a business interview at the US embassy. That's very common, right? If there is another step, if somebody is outside of the United States, which would be an interview at the embassy, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
so if the process is very similar indeed. Obviously, if you're outside the US, it's gonna take slightly longer simply because you're dealing with two different government agencies, right? You're first dealing with the Department of State, and then you're dealing with USCIS, right? So if you file for adjustment of status in the United States, um, you will do the interview in the US, you will go to the biometric appointment, and once your case is approved, you'll receive the green card in the mail. Overseas, you're gonna go do those steps first with a US diplomatic mission overseas. If the case is approved, they will issue an immigrant visa allowing you to enter the US. And once you enter the US on that visa, you're going to receive your green card in the mail within 2 to 3 months.
exactly. Once approved, you receive the permanent resident green card, right? And yeah, I think we finished here our presentation today. And yeah, I'm going to invite everybody to like this video, to give a thumbs up, and share with someone who needs this information also, might also need this information. I will leave the Lazzaro Immigration website at the bottom of this video also. And please subscribe if you like to see other videos like that. And if you want to know a little bit more, one kind of visa to United States or a green card procedure, please comment below what you want to know, and we'll be happy to record a video for you.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to more episodes to come.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.